Well, good morning, YouTube. As you can see, we have woken up inside the Vibe, even though it isn't 100% operational. But it is operational enough that we have a working fan that runs off a vehicle house battery system. And we do have an inverter, so we can actually cook. And it actually is Christmas morning, so Merry Christmas, everybody. I am out in the Vibe testing it out for survivability and to make sure that the system would work as intended. Basically, this Vibe is being built as a micro stealth camper. Although I'm not very stealth right now because you can see the windows are wide open. Because I haven't covered them up yet, and I don't know if I will on this build. They could be covered up. Let me turn off the fan here. It is kind of chilly, and the fan is making all this noise, which might make it hard for you guys to hear me. Alright, as you can see, we have a nice little working 12-volt fan that can run all night. We got a DC direct 12-volt system, and you might be wondering what's going on with all these wires. I'll explain all that here shortly and show you how things are kind of hooked up and how they could be hooked up. Honestly, I didn't really spend the night here. I just came out here and laid down to film this to show you guys how it would kind of look and how you would wake up and how I would kind of use it. And you'll notice the windows that kind of opened up. I put little gaps on all the windows here. I didn't open up the ceiling, although I could have, because this one has a sunroof for ventilation. I could even pop open this back window if I wanted to, but I don't know if you can see the water droplets all over everything. It did kind of rain. So, you might even want like little rain guards and stuff like that if you were really living in this. You might order those or even make them yourself. But this is the kind of view I'm waking up to right now. There are birds flying overhead, and I have a little sky roof that I can see things. It's kind of an interesting morning, and the fact that it is Christmas morning. But I decided to bring good vibrations out to my favorite little spot here at the park to film, because we're going to be doing some cooking. Yeah, I'm going to show you how you can cook using the rice cooker. If you guys have been following me any length of time, then you kind of know how the system sort of works, using an inverter cooking system. And some of you might say, why don't you just use a little butane or a propane system? We can do that. But, pretty much everyone knows how to do that. You usually get the little camp stove, the little butane system, and you just get the canisters for the fuel, light it, and you can cook. So I'm not going to bother showing that, even though that is an option and an option that a lot of people might use. But that option costs money, okay, additional money, because you got to buy the canisters and stuff. This option uses free electricity. And you're like, well, it's not free if you're having to run the car and cook it like you're going to be doing right now, Denoy. No, it's not. It's going to be more expensive, I think, running the gasoline than running a propane or a butane cooking system by running the gasoline to cook the food if you're just sitting there. But the power of this system is it's actually most useful when you're driving from location to location. Because when you're driving, you're actually generating enough electricity that you could run a 750 watt inverter, which we've got here. And from that 750 watt inverter, you could run a rice cooker and cook. Now, the vehicle isn't totally rigged for cooking and everything because I'm not full-time living in this. This is just a setup, a mock-up. So you can see I have the front area here set up as like a little table, because the seat on these Vibes, they fold flat down, so you get a little surface area here. And I brought my handy-dandy rice cooker, which is a 120-volt appliance. Okay, it's a little bit beat up. It's the same one that we had before. It's got water in it because I just cleaned it. But if I were using this for real, I wouldn't have this loose like this. I don't know if you saw in Little Blue, I built a little wooden box, a little square box that went around this, and then I put elastic to cover it up, to keep the lid from flying off. That's what I would build around this so it didn't slide around. And if I was totally living by myself, pretty much having lived for weeks or months on end, I might even screw, use L brackets and screw the wooden box down into the seats so stuff doesn't fly around. This is set up temporarily just to show you how it would all work. And so we have a 120 volt plug, 115, 120 volt plug here, which could go into this one here, but it wouldn't work because, I mean, it would work, but see, it says 100 watts maximum on that thing. I don't know if you can see that 100 watts. This thing uses upwards of 300 watts in high mode. Let me show you here. Underneath the appliance, I know this looks beat up and old because it was actually used. It says that it is 120 volts, 300 watts, 60 hertz AC only. So in normal cooking mode, this thing uses about 300. I've seen it go as high as 315 watts. And then on warm mode, it's approximately 80 watts. So we're going to use this to cook today. And what we're going to be cooking is, just as a quick little meal to show you how it could be done. We're going to make a McNoy sandwich. And you're going to notice that the way I have the van configured, not the van, but the Vibe configured right now, it has little side pockets which would be useful for carrying things like plates and whatnot. If you're a single person, you only need like 1 or 2 sets of spoons and forks. If you had 2 people, the other person could carry their stuff here. Those things there could be moved in the back and stacked. It would just look a little bit more crowded, but right now there's actually plenty of room. You can see I have a little refrigerator unit console that can plug into 120 volts, and I actually have a multi 120 volt outlet hooked up to the regular vehicle outlet. That's so you could plug in the refrigerator as well as USB chargers and whatnot, even though it has a built-in USB charger on that thing. But 120 volts is going to be your major outlets. And on this car, unless you put it on accessory mode, I think all that goes off. It doesn't stay on. Although there may be a switch. I haven't really read the manual yet. But it doesn't matter because this one we can flip on and off. Right now I have the unit flipped off, but it has a button for DC. And if you haven't seen me review this EverStart 1200 peak amp jump starter, I did it on a previous video on the Good Enough series. I may review this again if you want me to review it again to show you how it works and stuff. But it's got a built-in inverter too. I think it's like a 100-watt inverter, just like the other little one. I wouldn't really use inverter on this except for emergency, like to charge up your laptop. But it has like air compressor, it's got USB charging, it's got 12 volts. You got phone chargers on here, so all sorts of stuff. They even make like little fan units that run off USB, so you could potentially run it on that. And I have my 750 watt inverter here that is designed to be hooked up directly to battery. They have these alligator clips on them, so you can hook it up to positive and negative. This is a negative, the red. This is the negative, the black, and the red is positive. So you would clip these onto the appropriate terminal on a battery, and that would take the 12 volt battery and run it through the system, which then, oh man, don't tell me this is coming apart. Crap, my thing came apart. I just built it the other day, and I don't think I brought any tools with me. We may have an issue here because this came apart. Anyhow, basically you hook it up to 12 volt battery and it converts it to 120. The problem is when you're using electricity like that to cook things, it wears out really fast. Like the battery will drain out within a minute or two. So you have to keep charging that battery up. And that's why, this becomes powerful inside a vehicle, because your vehicle's alternator can be used to charge the system up. So with that said, let's go ahead and start the process to show you how we would cook with this. Okay, it is a little bit windy out here, so I'm hoping that you guys can hear me. I'll try to shelter the microphone here, but at its simplest level, what you would do is pop the hood on your vehicle, and that's how you would access the battery. You don't really need to be too fancy. I do show how to do this inside Little Blue, when we were testing the system. My apologies if the wind is blowing, because I am by the river and it is very, very windy on this Christmas morning. But you can see we have the battery here. Ignore that extra wire that's going out there. That's the wiring that I put in with a 35 amp fuse to hook up to pull out the 12-volt power to go into the back of the vehicle so that we can actually cook from back there if we wanted to, or inside the vehicle, and run appliances as well as charge up our house battery. But that's not really needed for the cooking system. For the cooking system, all you really need is an inverter that's capable of drawing enough power to run your appliance, which in this case is 300 watts. I have this inverter for 750 watts, which is more than adequate. And it's off right now, but I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. Make sure nothing's touching metal here. And it fell apart. That's not good. I'm going to have to try to fix this. Hang on a minute. Let me try to fix this situation. All right, just so you know what I did, I basically removed the eyelet thingy that I had installed, but I didn't do a good job of clamping it. Should really solder it into place, but anyhow, I just took the wire and I just wrapped it around the terminal there. So red is on red, black is on black. And what we're going to do is plug stuff in, but we're going to make sure that these ends aren't touching any metal right now. So we're going to plug the red to the red. I'm going to hook it right directly up to the battery so we get the maximum draw on it. Then I'm going to hook up the black. I know this is kind of backwards, so we'll put it that way so we can kind of see more what we're doing. And we're going to hook the black to the black, which is negative. You can put it onto that bolt or that right there, which is the terminal itself. Put it right on the terminal would be the best, but I think it's going to have a hard time clamping, so we're going to clamp it to this. There might be a spark when we touch it. See that little spark? And cause a potential battery explosion, so be very careful. Okay, so it's on right now, but you're going to see that nothing's going on. And nothing's going on because this thing is still off. So the panel doesn't show anything, but I can turn it on by hitting this on switch. And you hear that beep, it comes on. And this has some protection on it. So it says the battery is currently at 12.6 volts, which is kind of low. It should be 12.8 is normal. So right now it's at 12.6, which is low, which means this battery is weak. So if I tried to cook on it, I would probably kill that battery. And not only that, you really shouldn't cook with the battery just sitting there without it being charged up while you're cooking, because it's going to be draining really, really fast. So what I'm going to do is start up the vehicle and show you how the voltage goes up. And we're going to take a look here at our panel. And now you can see it says like 14.5 volts. What you're looking at isn't actually the voltage of the battery. What you're looking at is this thing has a really good alternator. Evidently the alternator on here is producing 14.6 volts. 14.6 volts is coming from this alternator, flowing through and charging up the battery, but it's also going through this inverter right now. So at this point right now, if I were to plug in this unit right here, which I might do just to show you how it would all work if you didn't want to wire your vehicle, because we're talking survival mode. You know, some people aren't really that technically inclined and don't want to totally rig out their vehicle. They just want to do it for survival and don't mind wasting gas like this. The reason I wire it is so that you could actually cook while you're driving, because then it saves you money, it saves you gas. But if all you wanted to do was just use it occasionally at a park or something where you have access to a bench, you could do it like this. You don't have to wire out your whole system here. Let me turn off the music here before it ends up copywriting me. All right, so anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and hook this all up. So I'm going to show you how we cook with it if we had to make our own electricity. All right, as you can see, the system's now saying it's got 115 volts being produced by the alternator, because that's how much is actually flowing through here. It's because this device is plugged in right now, so some current, electricity is being lost because I decided to plug in an extension cord unit. This one's really cool because it rolls up. They used to sell this particular model at Walmart. They have a newer model that still rolls up, but it's not as flat as this one. You don't need a flat extension. You can just get the regular kind, which is just a long electrical cord. But it's nice to get the kind that fold up like this, because it takes up less space and it can be really, really long, and you don't have to fold it up. You just wind it up. So it's at 14.5, which means it's all still working. Everything is still working. And at this point right now, if I plug in the rice cooker here, the rice cooker doesn't have an on-off button. When you plug things in, it comes on automatically. So like right now, it's keyed, so it only goes in one way. All right, I plugged it in, and I can see the light came on here. I know it's hard to see on the camera, but the light is indeed on. So the rice cooker is actually on right now. And I can start cooking right here. Oh, the car just shut itself. That's not good. Hopefully it doesn't lock itself. So as you can see right now, I can cook using the system out here, generating my own electricity. I'm going to come into the car because the wind is blowing. And I think I might have to go get the mic because it's going to be hard for you guys to hear me. It's a particularly windy day. I don't know if you can see all the leaves blowing there on the trees. So I can actually go out there and cook with the system. Or I could cook in the back of the vehicle, which is what I might have to do because the wind. If I try to, it would be safer to cook out there like this, you know, so if I wasn't filming, this is where I would cook. It's just safer to do that than to cook in your vehicle. But I'm going to have to cook in the back of the vehicle because of the wind, so we can control the wind noise. All right, rather than cooking in the back of the vehicle, I decided to go ahead and cook up front here on my little table that I've made, just to show you how it could be done. But basically, I took the extension cord and I just ran it back here inside the vehicle, where hopefully there'll be less wind. You can see the unit is indeed on. And at this point, it's just a matter of plopping food in there and letting it cook. And this is kind of how it would be cooked if I was driving, except that the rice cooker would be in a box and have bungee cord, you know, holding it all together. And then the box would actually be bolted down or screwed down to this table so it doesn't fly somewhere. You can kind of look at how I did it inside Little Blue 2, my minivan camper, stealth minivan camper, to see how that was done. So this would be done very similar. But for now, we're going to go ahead and make our little McNoy sandwich. So let's look at our food. You can see that I basically have kept things really simple. I just have a igloo type cooler here. And what's inside here is just food. And I don't have a lot. I mean, I guess it's kind of a lot, but because I'm not fully living in it, but I just wanted to show you can carry stuff in here. It doesn't necessarily have to be cold stuff. I would carry the cold stuff in the cooler over there, the little one, the little console cooler, because that one can plug in at 12 volts and chill while you're driving. And you can put a little 48-ounce cup or something in there with ice to keep it all cool. I would keep dry goods in here, water and other food items. But while we're here, might as well look. But you can see there's all sorts of space here. This is storage. And you're gonna see a little switch box there. That's for the internal vehicle house system, which I'm gonna show you on a separate video. Otherwise, this video will be super long. But anyhow, we're gonna pull out some eggs, and all we're gonna do is just cook up some eggs for our McNoy sandwich. I do have some bread here, which I'm gonna bring out, and of course our seasoning. Our seasoning is going to be our normal stuff, which is just putting all that stuff there to use. We're just going to use Badia and minced onions. That's all. Just Badia, complete, which is my main seasoning for everything, and Great Value minced onion. I do need some oil, which I have I forgot to get out from back there, so let me get that. I basically took some vegetable oil and I put it into a little tiny empty bottle, so it'd be more manageable. But they sell little bottles of vegetable oil at Dollar Tree. So basically, this is kind of how I lived in the minivan, the Little Blue 2, for those of you who are new to the channel. So let's get rid of this water here. Any water left? And what we're going to do is simply just pour a little bit of oil in here. Just enough oil to coat it so the egg kind of doesn't stick. Okay, so this is vegetable oil. If you want to be healthy, you could probably use olive oil. Now, all that remains to be done really is to crack the eggs and put it in there, which I'm going to do here in a moment. Alright, through the magic of editing, I have cracked the eggs, and you can see that the eggs are indeed starting to cook. I can turn the heat up, but it won't go on high because the thing is too light. But what I'm going to do is season it right now by just pouring on some Badia. And Badia is just all-purpose seasoning. It'll give the eggs some oomph. And then for a little bit of crunchiness, some minced onion. And this is pretty much it. It's not hard to cook. I am going to go ahead and put the lid on it. And you can see with the lid on it, I can hit the temperature high. And the unit is now fully cooking. You might be wondering, wow, that's pretty neat. Well, the thing is, when you put it on high mode, it should be pulling 300 watts, which is going to reduce the amount of electricity that you see here. And this, oh man, I just pulled the, just tripped over the cable here. Hopefully I didn't unplug everything. So everything is still together. You can see how it went down to 12.2. Before it would have been like 14 point whatever. Now it's like 12.2 because I'm pulling power. And if this unit dropped too low, this inverter will actually start beeping and stop working. So you can see at running at 300 watts, this unit's only got like 12.2 volts coming through right now. We're pulling a lot of voltage to go through the system, and we are actually borrowing some from the battery. So doing this often, if you don't monitor your battery, if your system doesn't have a safeguard and shut off, you know, if it draws too low, your battery will die. And that's why it's important to have the vehicle running, because it's charging constantly to try to replace the electricity that you're using to come through the system to generate heat. So right now the egg is cooking, and we are pretty much going to be just waiting for the egg to cook. Then it's a matter of serving up the dinner, and that's pretty much it. And if you want to see how I cooked other things other than eggs, you know, I cook steak, I cook rice, I even make fried rice, I make lo mein. I make all sorts of stuff using this rice cooking system. You want to watch the Cooking with Denoy playlists that run on the Living in a Van, you know, channel on the Cooking with Denoy playlist, basically. It has stuff where I use the inverter cooking system, and I basically cook anything that you would cook in a house, or that you could cook in a rice cooker, whether it's in a house or not. Just wanted to show you what it looks like inside. You can see it's starting to white up. You know, take a while because it's got to build up the heat. But this will cook the eggs, so I'm going to go ahead and pause right now, and then I'll show you the finished product. While the food continues to cook, I thought I would point out a little bit of a safety issue. You want to make sure when you're cooking inside your vehicle that you have your windows adequately vented. Windows should be open, maybe even doors. I got it kind of shut right now because of the side noise coming in, and also the wind, you know, the wind hitting and making it so you guys can't hear me. But you can see here the egg is cooking and almost done. Look at all that steam. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare the bread, and then show you how we assemble our sandwich here in just a moment. As you can see, I've opened the window up a little bit more just to have it better ventilated. I also got our bread ready to go. The food is pretty much done, but what I want to do is flip the eggs a little bit. That's why we vent so that it goes out. I could actually vent the roof here because this has actually got a moon roof or sun roof, but I'm not going to bother. We're going to go ahead and flip the egg here a little bit. Try not to get it stuck. So I'll flip the egg over and let it fully cook, even though I think right now it already is fully cooked. So maybe just a minute. I can see it's still kind of got the egg yellows there. See that? So I kind of popped it a little bit. That's all right. That's all right. You can see the unit has popped back up to warm mode. So what we're going to do is just put it back on high. The reason I put it on high is on warm mode, it doesn't generate enough heat. It generates enough to warm food and cook food slowly, but I like things done fast. So if you're wondering how much time actually has progressed, it's been about like 6 or 7 minutes since I started cooking it. So within 10 minutes you can have your breakfast. Now you're like, wow, that's 10 minutes of just sitting here idling, wasting gas. Pretty much, if this is what you're doing. The reason for going with an inverter cooking system is because I can cook while I drive, but also because I can use it at a park where that has like electrical outlets, because I can plug in and cook without even running my vehicle. And most of the time when I'm driving, you know, like somewhere, I could have the rice totally cooked. It might not even hurt to get 2 rice cookers. So you can use one to cook the rice and use another one to cook the side dish. Obviously, you probably don't want to run them both at the same time, but you could run one and when it finishes cooking, run the other. And that's what I did for the longest time when I was living in the van. But this is just showing you, you know, something different that a lot of people don't do, because a lot of van dwellers use like propane systems or butane systems, but very few use electricity on a consistent basis. I do use electricity because I think it's cleaner, a little bit safer in a lot of ways. Although you could have a vehicle fire with electricity just as you could with propane or butane. And yeah, I do think the food is done. If you'll look, the eggs are pretty much done. So at this point right now, I can shut everything off, okay? And to shut it off, I just go and I turn off the inverter. And I'll leave the vehicle running a little bit just to let it continue to charge. So let me go over here and show you what the power looks like right now. There is no way to turn it off here on the rice cooker other than unplugging it. So, you know, I'll show you later. I was going to show you the whole power system, but it looks like this video is getting a little long. So that's going to have to be another part. So I'll show that at a later episode here to show you how you set up the cooking system so you don't have to have it like this, where you have to park somewhere and hook up your inverter. You can see it's up to 13.6 now because it's on low mode and it's charging up. So at this point, if I hit this button, the power button here, it shuts this off, and so electricity stops flowing. See the rice cooker, I don't know if you can see the little light is off now. So it's done cooking. And at this point, if I wanted to shut the car off, I could. I'm gonna go ahead and unplug everything. So essentially, we're just like back to regular vehicle mode. And that's the power of an inverter. And this is how you use them. Okay. Very useful device, useful for emergency crisis situations where you have like hurricanes or tornadoes or flooding or whatever that take out the electrical grid. And as long as you have a vehicle, you know, with an alternator on it, you can generate your own electricity and use it to run appliances. Just watch how many watts it puts out. They make inverters that come in different sizes. The smaller ones you could plug into a cigarette lighter, but this one's got already a smaller one built in, which isn't too useful. It's useful for like charging a battery, you know, a small little battery pack, or for running like a laptop computer or something like that. But it's not really useful for like cooking or anything like that. For cooking, I would recommend at least 450 watts. Then you could run the rice cooker that's 300 watts on it. But I personally go for 750 watts because it's a good size for running the rice cooker. You can run 2 rice cookers at the same time if you wanted to. You can also run power drills, power saws, depending on how much power they use. The other step that I might take is a 1,000 watt one, but I probably wouldn't want to go more than 1,000 or 1,200 watts, because the larger your wattage that it converts from 12 volts to 120 watts, you get a more loss, more energy loss. It's less efficient. So you want to go as low as possible, but still be able to do what you need to do. In this case, we want to cook our rice and run power appliances. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble the sandwich and show you the final product. We're going to end the film shortly, or this video shortly, because it is getting way too long, which means I'll have to show you the other part later where I wire everything into a full-blown house power system with 120 volt access as well as 12 volt access. So stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and put together our food. Don't that look good? All right, that's our eggs pretty much cooked up. A little bit brown, just like I like it. And I just simply put the egg on here. You know, I just lay the egg directly onto the bread. Nothing too fancy. Nothing too fancy schmancy, but it is a nice little egg McNoy. And I know some of my viewers miss this kind of stuff. So this is kind of interesting. First time cooking in the Vibe. And I'm gonna scoop this last bit up here. And some of you might wonder how I clean all this. I basically use paper towels. You can see I got paper towels over there. I just wipe everything down. But let me just grab this egg and eat it. It's good stuff. The eggs are already seasoned, so really, if you wanted to, you didn't have to put ketchup on here. But I put ketchup on it just because. Yeah, look at that. And this then, ladies and gentlemen, is our breakfast. Let me go ahead and finish it off with some orange juice. Alright, through the power of editing, you can see I have wiped this down. I just took some paper towels there, wiped it down. So this is all wiped down, clean, and you can put that up. I did bring out the orange juice, which I'm going to try to pour single-handedly here. Hopefully it does not spill everywhere. And that will be our drink for today, for our little breakfast. And our Egg McNoys are looking absolutely scrumptious. Close that up. Close that up. And that looked good. Oh my goodness. And we're going to go ahead and have a little bite here. Bon appetit, everybody. Doesn't that look good? Here we go. Oh, so good. I can't emphasize to you how good a warm breakfast tastes if you're like living in a vehicle, because you know you give up a lot of luxuries and stuff like that, but having the ability to cook food and make a hot meal freshly made exactly the way you want it and not have it be too expensive is like a major blessing. This whole meal, probably with both sandwiches, it can probably be made for under 50 cents. Although the orange juice might add it up to $1 or something. Orange juice is kind of expensive. But I hope you found this video educational, and for those of you who are wondering how you could live out in a vibe and stuff, I hope this is giving you some ideas. If you're wondering what I did for the bed, all I did was just put down a sleeping bag, although I would recommend 2 sleeping bags, and then a comforter and pillows. And you could carry a tent so you could go camping if you really needed to or wanted to. And for clothing and stuff, which I don't have in here, I would recommend putting them into like little duffel bags. They sell like Dollar Tree duffel bags. So you can get like 3 or 4 of them, you know, maybe one for shirts, one for underwear, one for socks or whatever. And categorize stuff by duffel bag. And the duffel bags could be tucked, you know, I don't know if you recall, but underneath the chest here, as well as on the seats, there's all this little space, and you could put like duffel bags there with your items. But the primary purpose of using this vehicle is mainly for sleeping, which I'll be showing you some more later here as we show you the power systems, and we might even get into the point where we start doing entertainment systems. I want to thank you all for joining me. I hope that wherever you are, you're staying safe, eating well, and having a blessed day. So take care, everyone. Merry Christmas. Be safe.